Hello, everybody. Welcome to the April live show for All Her Little Secrets by Wanda and Morris. Your lipstick matches the cover, so that's
there you go.
Solid.
That counts.
If you want to start out in the comments by giving, let's do a red heart if you've read it, a black heart if you haven't, or maybe you DNF'd it. I actually think this one, generally was a pretty good success from what I've seen. And by that, I mean, I haven't seen a ton of people hate it, which I think for this book club is a success. We're not going to get into ratings quite yet, but I just want to know if you read it. And then I'm going to have all the co-hosts introduce themselves. And then once they do that and tell me maybe your most recent favorite thriller. I know you've all been here before, so you all know the gist. Starla hasn't been here the longest, so they get to introduce the book to us.
Oh, great.
Because we haven't heard from you the most recently. That's the gift and the punishment of it all. So let's start with Paige. I don't know if you want to tell us about your channel or you just want to tell us what you're kind of up to on the internet and where people can follow you.
Yeah. So I'm Paige. You can find me at by Paige Maria on Instagram. I'm a writer, and I post writing related type videos as well on YouTube at Paige Maria. And what was I supposed to say? My thriller.
Have you had any recent favorite thrillers? Or if you
Yes.
haven't, okay, good.
No, I do actually. It's a book I've already read, but I was working on a writing project, and I wanted some short stories, and you're gonna love this, Kayla. I reread A House at the Bottom of the Lake.
I do love that.
This is so good. It's so good. Yes.
Our original read of that was a buddy read.
What was that?
Our original read of that was a buddy read. You and me. And Shannon, it was 6 years ago.
Wow.
Oh, that was 6 years ago?
It was a long, long time. Maybe 4, 5, 6 years ago. And did you love it the same this time?
Yeah, especially looking at it through a writer's lens, how he told this story and in what is this, 100 pages? It's so short. Oh, so good. You feel like you're suffocated the whole time you're reading it.
Love it.
That's a good one.
All right, Starla.
My name is Starla. I am non-binary, they, them pronouns. On the internet, you can find me on YouTube and on Instagram at Starla Enjoys, but I've been actually doing a lot over on my Patreon, which is still at Starla Reads, my old title. So I would definitely say that's where I've been most active recently, if you want to hang out with me and do some fun stuff with me over there. I actually haven't had a recent favorite thriller, unless you want to count this one, because I, spoiler, kind of liked it.
Oh yeah.
But so recently the thrillers I've been reading have been actually kind of disappointing, which is why I haven't been picking up many recently. But the one that I always remember, the one that always sits in my head, I read a year and a half ago, and it's out. By Natsuo Kirino. Yes, thank you. That one shook me to my core, and I still think about it to this day.
I have that on my TBR shelf.
It's gruesome. It's very, very gruesome and graphic. So if you're ready for that going into it, it's an incredible experience.
All right.
Sounds interesting.
It's so good. I can't recommend it enough.
My name is Gabby. My channel is Gabby Reads on YouTube. And I just make I mostly read thrillers, horror, and romance are my go-to genres. But I read a little bit of everything. I'm not really big into fantasy though. And a recent thriller that I've enjoyed, well, not a thriller, but more on the horror side. I just recently read You've Lost a Lot of Blood. I just read it 2 days ago. And it's the same author as Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke. It's Eric. I can't think of his last name, but it was really interesting. I actually think you would like it, Kayla. I'm not sure if you've heard of it or read it, but
I've seen it, and the cover freaks me out.
Yeah, it's a novella. It's called You've Lost a Lot of Blood. Yeah, it's called You've Lost a Lot of Blood, and it's it's a novella within a novella, so there's like a story within a story happening, and it's just
Oh,
really interesting though. Like I don't
that's
know.
fun.
Yeah.
I love
That's
that.
trippy.
Okay, cool. Okay, so it looks like we did have, well, I don't know actually if these are DNFs or if those people are just here to hang out. Sometimes I attend live shows, like just the other day, Gabby did a live show for a book that I didn't finish, but I just wanted to know all the spoilers for it, so I watched the live show. But we can get into ratings now. I can't wait to hear what everybody thought of it. Or I guess, Starla, sorry, you need to tell us what the book's about.
Oh, yes.
I just jumped right in there, my bad.
We're like, skip
Pitch
that.
it
You
to
guys better know it going into it. So this is a legal thriller. I would classify it as a legal thriller. It's following our main character, Elise, Little John, who came from some very rough backgrounds and made her way to be a corporate attorney at this really big firm in Atlanta, Georgia. And she's got a lot of things that she keeps secret and hidden about her childhood and young adulthood and her past in general. But one day when she goes to meet her boss and lover, the guy she's having an affair with, one early morning, she actually finds him dead. And instead of doing what a rational person would do and call the police, she decides to leave. And there's a lot of mystery and question as to why she is so, avoidant of the police and what happened in her past and what happened with Michael and how is it connected and all this great stuff.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Was it good?
That's great. It's always people always do better than I would do myself. I feel like when I'm pitching books, I just do an awful job.
I literally finished it last night, so I better know what it's about.
It's still fresh in your mind. Bree,
I forgot.
I love how you said like a rational person would do. Throw that in there.
I will be
I have
asking
some things to say about that.
I'll be asking two main questions. That's like, what's something you liked about the book generally, and what's something you didn't like? And I feel like something that comes up a lot with people is that she just doesn't make logical decisions.
She really does.
But I really liked that.
I got received. No, and I get it because, like, I always tell myself, I'm like, if characters didn't make stupid decisions, there wouldn't be a story.
What would the book be? If she just left, what would the book be?
So I get it.
All right, there is a whole span of ratings, but it's mostly 3s and 4s, and I agree. It was a 4 for me. It was a pretty high 4 for me, actually, like closer to a 4.5. I had a lot of fun. I think it was ridiculous and over the top in a way that I really enjoy. It did fall into some like similar things that I've read before, and it's tough when you go into a thriller because you don't know the ending. And I'm starting to feel like I keep reading this specific ending a lot, but without looking at it as a group of books that I've read, as a standalone novel and experience, it was a 4. What about you guys?
I just went with 5 because I just enjoyed it.
Wow.
I mean, and well, I don't read a ton of books like you guys.
Nowadays,
nowadays, yes. I used to read so much. But so anytime I do read, I just love it so much. So that's that. I love the representation. I love anything with law and like I always wanted to be a lawyer. So and I liked the past to present. I loved learning about her past. So, I gave it a 5.
Amazing.
But I'm not hard to
hard to please.
Yeah.
I would say the opposite, especially with thrillers. I'm pretty hard to please with thrillers, and I don't know if it's because when I watch TV, it's almost always like a horror movie or a thriller mystery movie, or I'm watching a true crime documentary. So I feel like when I go into thrillers, I can predict it so easily, and like that takes the joy out of it. I definitely need that unpredictability. And even though I would say the story wasn't as surprising, I did still really enjoy all of the different aspects to it. Like you were saying, Paige, a lot of the representation of being a Black person in white corporate America and all these other things, and learning about her past. I do love like a flashbacks, and it's slowly getting more and more information throughout that, and trying to predict what she's going to do next and all of that. So I gave it a solid 4 stars. It was a solid 4-star for me.
Nice. I gave it around like a 3.5, I think is where I'm settling at. I think it's between like a 3 and a 3.5 for me, but probably closer to 3.5. I mean, I've loved too all the things that were already mentioned about it. And some of the things that I thought were slower. Well, I don't read a lot of like legal thrillers, if we're calling it like a legal thriller, like following an attorney. That's usually one of my like least favorite thrillers, just because sometimes it can come across like the writing can be a little like clinical or like, descriptive in that way. So I don't always connect with legal thrillers, but I did really like this one because it felt very like real, and like the situation she was in was always like interesting, like I wanted to know where it was going. And at the beginning, like some of the flashback chapters were slow for me because I was just trying to figure out where or like how it was going to connect. But towards the end of the book, I really started to like the flashback chapters a lot more. But yeah, it was a good time.
I'm so glad we all liked it. That's so tough though. I always hope like a small part of me is like, I hope somebody comes on and hates it and somebody loves it. So we have that like dynamic of so many different perspectives, but it's obviously so great that we all did enjoy it.
Yeah.
Especially like, I just feel great that we, with the book club, encouraged a lot of people to pick up a debut by a Black author. I think that's fantastic, and not something that, we're always thinking about. And I'm really excited next month that we're doing a translated book for the first time. So this is going to be fun too.
Oh my gosh.
You need a reminder. This is our pick for May. It's called Confessions by Kane Minato. I think it's going to be fun. I haven't started yet.
I just say that book is so good.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's so weird because I hadn't really heard anybody really talk about it, and then somebody recommended it, and then I saw that so many of my friends had already read it, and I was like, "Hey, I need to get on the train." So
I'm so excited for next month's live show.
Yeah.
And if you don't know, Wanda M. Morris's next book was recently announced, and we're following the aunt, Vera, in her own story, like her backstory, which is very cool. So I will 100% be picking that up. I think now we can get into spoilers. We're like halfway through the live show, so if we've convinced you to pick it up, that's amazing. I hope you hop out of here and then you can come back. This live show will always be up if you want to come back for the full spoiler discussion. But now I'd love to get into my first main question, which is just like, since we all did enjoy it, what's like the main aspect that you did enjoy? If there's a specific element of the story, scene in the story. I'll also ask favorite character in a minute, but just like generally, what's something specific that made you enjoy it?
I would say the thing that I loved throughout the entire story, even on the slower bits and stuff, was just the conversation of Black people in corporate America and how difficult that is. And, all of the little microaggressions that Elise was going through, and even talking about like Sam, her brother, and like the struggles that he went through and having to go to jail and how difficult it is to find a job coming out of that. And just like, I felt like it was so nuanced in a way that it wasn't like an in your face, like, Black people have it hard, kind of way. But it was a very real way. I felt like I knew these people because I do know these people. I do know these people that struggle with things. My mom is actually a corporate attorney and she's a Black woman. And so like I felt like I saw so much of the things that my mom goes through in corporate America, in the white corporate America. Like all of her people are white, and I'm just like, it's scary sometimes. It's really scary sometimes. I personally am not an attorney, but I work with an all-white male, and my department is all white men, and that's really hard at times. And so I felt very connected to that specifically, and that really hit me hard when reading it. So I would definitely say that was probably my favorite aspect to the story.
That's so interesting that you have those like real life examples. Like you can see your mom in some ways in the character. That's an unfortunate, parallel, but that's cool that you have the references. Mm.
Something I really liked how the flashbacks made you really understand her choices, and like while I didn't always agree with the things that she was doing, um, I just I felt so empathy for her, and I understood, you know, coming from her background. It just I really connected with that as well. I used to live in Georgia too, so I enjoyed that was my favorite part, the flashbacks for sure.
Hmm. Yeah, I think one of my favorite aspects was the relationship that she had with her brother and how that was so like fleshed out, and we learned more about that like later on in the story. But I thought it was really interesting, like
Mm.
once we found out that he was kind of involved with like some of the stuff that was going on, then I was even more intrigued, and I feel like that's when the story really started to pick up with me, was once her brother started to become involved with everything that was going on.
Mhm.
I agree. Sam is great. I would
Yeah.
even say Sam was probably my favorite character
Yeah.
Yeah,
if we're answering that question too.
I think she just it was so interesting because it so easily could have been Sam who was responsible for so much stuff, and he was such a bad person, and it felt like it was going in that direction. And when we got to find out that Sam, we're in full spoilers, right? Sam was like innocent of so much stuff, and then I just really respect. And it sounds weird, but like she really went there. She killed off such a strong character.
Yeah.
I was not
That
expecting
was
her to do
hard.
that. I
That
did
was
not
hard.
think Sam was going to die. I wasn't expecting. I think my favorite thing overall is like the twists of it, because while there was a certain amount of like predictability for me, I didn't expect her to be pregnant as a child teen. I don't remember how old she was. I wasn't expecting Sam to die. I wasn't expecting the role that Sam played in everything. And then there was this one moment where we're like, remember when there was a character who was like repeated himself,
Nate
um, and like that was such like a weird, because I was listening to the audiobook and I thought that the audiobook had messed up,
went
and I was
back.
like, what
That
just
happened to me
happened?
too.
Yeah, I listened.
That was like
Yeah.
chilling to me for some reason, because I was like, that's where the book took a turn where I was like, is he a robot? Like, is he being mind controlled? Like, what just happened? How do you just say the exact same sentence twice? And then, yeah, that's when the book really kicked off for me. I was enjoying it the whole time. I always love a flashback. I could have had, I guess we can get into things we didn't like. Um, I would have liked more legal stuff. Like when I pick up a legal thriller, I would have liked like courtroom dynamic. Like I would have liked some of that type of stuff. And I know that's not the type of lawyer she is. I don't know anything about law, but like I would have, when I pick up something knowing it's a legal thriller, I expect there to be like trials and stuff. So
Yeah.
I guess that's one thing that I was hoping for that I didn't get.
I
think she
agree.
just gave me real How to Get Away with Murder / scandal vibes.
Mhm.
So although I didn't get like the legal court scenes, I still got that vibe from it. So I got my legal fix from it still.
I agree. I definitely could have done with more legal stuff. I felt like when they started talking about like the embezzling and like things like that, I thought we were going to get more of that, like more information of that, and more of like how that happened, and you know, how was Mike not knowing about it, and then when he found out about it, you know, and all of that stuff. I was hoping to get a little bit more of it, but I still enjoyed it.
That's so interesting because I feel like I have
I just said that.
This is so relatable.
Yeah.
You said that too. I don't know why I remembered Nate. I remembered Nate. Probably because that was also a chilling moment when I was listening to the
Yeah, I feel like I have the opposite opinion where like if there was more lawyer stuff, I feel like it would have lost me, like really lost me. But I feel like it was like the perfect amount of lawyer stuff for me. I just like the only like nitpick thing I had about it was that I felt like the beginning with the flashbacks was like a little slow for me. Like I don't know why it felt very like historical at times, and then it was like losing me. I don't know if it was just like but I was like at the beginning it was like a struggle for me to get through the flashback chapters, but then once we reach like that part 2 where once like something happens that gets revealed and then you realize like how it's kind of connected, that's when I was like, okay, now I'm into it.
Yeah, I agree. It connected for me real quick. Like I knew that I didn't know, but I had a feeling that she was gonna murder again. after finding out about her murdering her abuser.
Yeah.
Yeah. There definitely was a lot, like there was different opportunities the book could have gone into. The two main things that I see people saying in Goodreads reviews that they didn't like is that she was like kind of stupid, like for somebody for somebody with her education and her, just the character we get to know, certain choices that she made was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But
I wrote that down on my thing. Like, girl, you are too smart.
It's in my notes too. I was like, talking to the police without a lawyer?
Like, and I even understand that maybe you don't like talking to police. Just, baby girl. Like, I just feel like she was smarter.
Leaving the voicemails, like, they're gonna get that. That annoyed me. I knew that was gonna come to bite her in the ass as soon as she left that voicemail.
While I was listening to her leaving the voicemail.
Right from the get-go, though, I knew I was when I'm like, really, you think that this is gonna be okay? You see a dead man here, and you're just gonna
walk away.
No.
Okay.
Well, yeah, because it immediately makes her look guilty, even though she's not even involved. But
that gave me a hint right away that, like, okay, I need to suspend a little bit of belief here.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
And then there was also when she like went to her boss's house and like met up with his wife, and she just went there, and I was like, "What are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, you have no reason to be there." And then what was it? She like did she give her food or a drink or something? And I was like, "It's probably poisoned." And I think
she thought that.
She thought that, but then did she still drink it and eat it? I think she did.
I don't remember.
But I remember being like, "What are you doing?"
Like, girl, you're the other woman. Come on.
Here's the thing, though. Like, I really think because she was so innocent in the situation, she wasn't thinking about ways to hide. Like, I think that it was actually like a good experience for her to, even though she is a lawyer and she knows that people who were guilty should always have a lawyer present. She just wasn't thinking that for herself, and it put her into a scenario she's never been in before, where she was like, no, like, I'm telling the truth. I have nothing to hide, so why would I try to sneak around all of these situations because I'm innocent, and you should believe that I'm innocent.
Yeah. That's just unbelievable to me, though. Like, I feel like someone coming up, been through what she's been through, like, you're not naive. Like, but...
I think, like, especially, I think when she went to talk to the police, too, it was, like, right after she learned about Sam's death. So I was also thinking, like, she might just not be right in the head at the time.
Right, that's so true. We need to give her a little more, like,
a little more leeway
for mistakes. Like, her lover just died, and we already know that she's not the most moral person. She's killed somebody, and she's sleeping with a married man.
So it's like,
she's gonna make mistakes. She's a little bit stupid.
I was surprised too when the wife like basically knew and then was like almost like trying to blackmail her into like helping. I was like, what the heck?
The wife was straight up like, I know he's in love with you, and I was like, and you're cool with that?
So that was a lot. The other thing I see people take the most issue with is like, I guess the reveal of everything, that it was all just a big conspiracy, that it was just like a white supremacist group, and people are like, that's unrealistic. But like,
no, it's not. I just want to say that. No, it's not.
There we go.
I mean,
white supremacy groups are very real and very here today. And racism in corporate is very real and very here today. So I
think the only thing within that that I do see where people are coming from is like, why would they not have just hired because the whole point was they wanted her to be like the figurehead to show like, hey, we're not racist. We have a Black person as our employee. But like, they could have found a person whose values aligned with theirs already, who they didn't have to lie to. Like, they could have just been in on it with them. Right? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, favorite character. I wrote down Vera.
Oh, Vera is such a good character.
I just think there are some really interesting things that are aligning with the idea of like memory and like memory loss, but also repressed memories, but also Alzheimer's. Like there's a lot of different characters who all have this thing about like your past and forgetting it on purpose or by accident. And I just think that was a really interesting thing. So I'm not typically interested in historical stories. And by that I mean anything written or anything set before like the 80s. I don't know why, it just doesn't appeal to me, but I'm absolutely picking up Vera's like origin story. I'm so interested.
That's what I was just gonna ask. If you knew what the synopsis of that book was gonna be.
I think it's like her and her sister. A white man is murdered, and they both like flee because they don't want people to think that it was them.
What year is it set in?
I feel like it was the 40s.
See, I love that. I'm excited for that. I love historical.
Favorite character? Anybody else besides Sam?
I was gonna say Sam. I see so much of Sam in people that I know, and I just like wanted to protect Sam at all costs. So
yeah, I think Sam had to be my favorite too. I mean, either him or like our main protagonist, just because I was, even though at times she was frustrating, I was still like rooting for her the entire time. So
yeah.
The other book is set in 1964.
Ooh, so civil rights movement.
Yeah.
That's going to be great.
Jim Crow, Mississippi, two black sisters run away to escape to different parts of the country.
Oh, I'm getting
that. Sounds really good.
That sounds so good.
And that's cool because I feel like it'll be able to stand alone as a story, obviously, but it also like gives content. Like that's kind of my perfect book, is a companion story like that.
Yeah.
Like one of my favorite books is The Hate U Give. And then I didn't expect Concrete Rose to be as good, but I gave it the exact same rating, even though it's like following a different person in a completely different situation. Yeah. It was really good. Oh yeah, Juice. I wanted more of Juice because
Juice was
like
great.
I just feel like Juice kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And like I love romance in a thriller, so like there could have been a little bit more of that. I really need a good thriller romance.
I don't like romance and thrillers because I'm
really
like, we don't have time for romance.
Yeah,
somebody got murdered. We got other shit to do.
You don't like to break it up with some romance? We got to figure this out.
That's why I'm excited to get into some cozy mysteries for the first time because I feel like they have a lot of romance in them.
I'm sure, yeah.
I just want to see how that goes for me. I would probably read a Juice prequel, weirdly. He was just very interesting to me.
Yeah, his story with like that girl he was with and going to jail for her and all that.
Someone asked what the backstory book was called. Do we know?
Anywhere You Run.
Anywhere You Run.
I'll type it in. Okay, last, because I guess we already covered Will You Pick Up Anything Else from her? We're currently talking about it. Last question is like, do you have any other recommendations? So books, movies, TV shows, anything. And this is where the comments are always amazing. And I always come back to them after to see what people are recommending because I can't, usually there's like a ton. So I would appreciate any comments. But if you three have anything you would recommend somebody checking out.
Right at the beginning of the book, I thought about the movie The Pelican Brief.
Never heard of it.
I haven't heard of that.
It has Denzel. It's an older movie. I think it's from like the 90s.
It has Denzel in it.
It has Denzel Washington in it.
I haven't seen
it. You just like say less.
I know. I'll go watch it right now.
But it reminded me of it specifically because it has like a lover who gets murdered.
Okay.
Like a lover / mentor who gets murdered, and that's like the catalyst of the story.
Interesting. Yeah, I was gonna say I would agree with Sally in the comments. I think if you liked Ace of Spades, like a young adult version almost, I think like a lot of it, yeah, it did remind me of Ace of Spades.
Yeah.
And then it also reminded me of the book The Other Black Girl. it was kind of similar in the sense that it follows one black woman who's like the only black woman in an office full of white people, and it's like it feels very similar with like vibes and everything to that book as well.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I would recommend, like, I wouldn't recommend this to fans of All Her Little Secrets, but I would
Yeah.
recommend fans of
Just re-
this to
Yeah.
All Her Little Secrets.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
For
I was
sure.
about to say. I was like, I would recommend Ace of Spades just in general.
Mhm.
I
Oh,
have
yeah.
a TV. I have TV.
Great.
If you liked this, you would love How to Get Away with Murder, Scandal, or The Good Wife. This is like a good mixture of those TV shows.
I've never seen The Good Wife, but I've heard such good things about it.
Oh, it's great. It's great. I don't think it's still running.
Oh, okay. Also, I think something that I liked about this is the fact that it wasn't domestic. It's rare for me to pick up something that isn't based in like partners, husbands, kids. Like it was just her experience at like work. And
Yeah, that was really cool.
I think that helped me really enjoy it because a lot of the thrillers that I'm not liking recently, they're domestic. So I too would recommend When No One Is Watching. This was a book club pick last year, and I think it's a good pairing. I also grabbed A Good Marriage just because it does have a attorney lawyer as the main character. It's super different. Like it has a lot of different perspectives and different characters, and it is a domestic thriller. But if you like the perspective of an attorney, and this is maybe your first time that you have read one, then that's something I would suggest you go to next because it was really, really good. And I was right. There are tons of recommendations in the comments. So I'm going to come back to
Someone said you can just watch The Good Fight after. Oh, I didn't know there was a sequel to another TV show of The Good Wife. Huh.
Oh,
I was
cool.
reading the comments.
Good to know. Good to know. Okay, well, I'm going to come look through these later.
Yeah, there's some good stuff.
That is pretty much it. I like to keep these short and sweet. I think we covered pretty much all of the questions, gave some recommendations. I really enjoyed reading this book. It's my favorite Literally Dead Book Club pick of the year so far.
Yeah.
So I really needed that. I needed something I really enjoyed. Right now, I can't think of what I've read this year, but I feel like this is one of my favorite, definitely one of my favorite thrillers of the year. So that's very exciting for me.
That's awesome.
Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for hopping into the comments too and chatting. I really appreciate everybody making the time to do this. And that's it. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.